Alright, my comic book brothers and my comic book sisters from another mister. I usually don't cover Marvel content, or at least not a lot of it, but I had to do Thanos Death Notes. After reading this, I had to upload this video, and I hope you thank me later for it. Brought to you by Rated Comics. Let's get to it. Thanos is lost in the time stream, presumed dead, but Thor knows he will return. When the cosmic entity known as the Black Winter showed the God of Thunder a vision of his true end, Thor saw a sight too terrible to speak into words. It promised the end of not only Thor, but of the very core of the universe. His friends and allies transfigured into a monstrous, undead versions of themselves, serving a triumphant Thanos who wields Mjolnir, infused with the Infinity Stones in one hand and a mysterious black gauntlet in the other. Now Thor seeks to study Thanos' past in hopes of finding a way to prevent such a terrible future. Thanos Death Notes number 1 is an anthology of stories showing Thanos' past in a new light. This is a one-shot, and it shows it in the perspective of other character, and sometimes other characters as well, in other times. Thor begins the journey on a doomed planet of Titan, Thanos' homeworld. He comes across Death, and Death already knows he's looking for Thanos, and he wants to find out if he's truly gone. These scenes with Thor serve as a means to have him grab a file and then let the story cut to another story and have it told that way. It's efficient and moody as a gloom hangs over Thor and Death watches his every move. Thor founds Alar's laboratory, Thanos' father. Alar's kept track of his son during his murderous campaigns, conducting experiments and compiling data to find a cure for his son's deviant gene that he thought contributed to his bloodlust. As Thor goes through the catalog data, he finds that Thanos has added a footnote to his father's files, offering the God of Thunder a rare chance to peek into the mind of a madman. Before we go any further into the content, link in description if you wish to add this comic book to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. You can also check out RatedComics.com for some cool comic book exclusives to add to your comic book collection as well. Now, the first anthology story Thor pulls is All That Is. The story takes us back to an earlier era for Iron Man as he's trying to figure out how Thanos' robot works, let alone how to turn it on. The story behind it is this. Thanos had imprisoned Drax the Destroyer. Drax reached out to Tony Stark and he came out to help him. I don't know how he reached out, but that's just the story, we're just gonna go with it. They tried taking Thanos down together. Tony Stark hit him with the punch from his gauntlet. His fist went through the robot's imposter's head. Now Thanos is gone with the wind, so to speak. Gone into the galaxy and he could be anywhere. Now Tony needs to figure out how this robot works. Whatever text the bad guy uses, Tony wants to learn how it works and use it better against his enemies. As smart as Tony is, this Titan technology might be a little above his head. He can't figure out how to turn it on, and I think that's the second or third time I said that. So he runs analysis trying to reverse engineer the thing. And Tony is wise enough to keep his armor on because for all he knows, he might be working with the ticking time bomb. Literally. You can't put anything past Thanos. One false move and he can have a very dangerous device on his hands. Tony is thinking the risk is not worth it and he decides to melt Thanos down and call it a night. Thanos' robot responds in a creepy and trippy manner. It would be a pity to annihilate such work of art. And Tony puts his arms up like, hey yo, I'm about to blast you right now, and he lets himself loose. Anthony Stark, remember that I'm a mere facsimile of my creator, a creator from whom I bear a simple message of warning. A warning, says Tony Stark? I wonder what kind of warning that could be. Would you like to hear it? It should pique your adequate intellect. Okay, what does the great Thanos have to say, says Tony Stark. Simple, really. Let this machine be, and you will continue as you were, or destroy it, and you and yours will suffer untold, torturous agonies for all eternity. Threats? Okay, I don't take too kindly to the threats. So Tony Stark responds, it was a kind of a fun game with your threats, but I choose to destroy you. Game? This game is already won, says Thanos' robot, for it is far more into the future than you believe, Anthony Stark. The future? What do you mean, says Tony. Yes! It's an eventuality that Thanos will rule supreme over all things, even space and time. In fact, it has already happened. This, your reality as you experience it, is but a reflection of a past already endured. Now it is a mere simulation, one articulated, studied, and overseen by Thanos. You see, all things are Thanos, even you. Right, sure, sarcastically says Tony. I speak as an artificial consciousness already unfathomable to you, one you despair to understand, but you cannot. It is not conceivable that a mind powerful enough to create me could in time control all that is. It is undisputed that Thanos will soon be your god. Thanos is your god, Stark, as Thanos has been your god since the beginning. So Tony Stark starts tripping out. Alright, I don't believe none of this you're saying. And Thanos' robot's like, okay, let me show you. Your existence here is just a facade. In the true now years from your time, all is Thanos. All serves Thanos. All is born of Thanos. The god of your simplistic myths is now manifest. And reaching back, Thanos has reshaped all of time itself to endure, to protect his inevitable rise to omnipotent glory. The old universe and those who are opposed to him are long dead. In his new creation, all facets of it bow to him and his will. And even if they do so without knowing it, and those pieces that resist, rebel. So Tony's like, stop this insanity. If I destroy one stupid robot, then Thanos will torture me for the rest of my time? That's absurd. Just not you and everyone you know, Tony. So if Thanos is God and this is some simulation he controls, what does he care about one freaking machine? And that's a legitimate question Tony Stark asked him. It's not just the machine, it's the principle. If you reject the machine, you are against what is to come, which means you resist and therefore you must be removed. Stupid mind game, said Tony Stark. Oh, okay, mind game, says Robot Thanos. You are a scientist, Stark. Examine the probabilities, weigh the risks, and check your pride. And Tony Stark just imagined that. And he doesn't even know if it's even worth the risk. Is Thanos already dead? Did he already defeat this? What timer, man? This is a one big mind messing. And you know what? After thinking about it and analyzing all the possibilities and probabilities and calculations that Tony Stark has in his very limited infinite head, humanly speaking, but limited compared to Thanos. Fine, have it your way. I won't melt you down, but I'm just posturing if it's, because you say I can't melt you down, but no one says I can't keep you in one piece, so I'm not going to keep you in one piece. And Tony Stark rips Thanos' head off. Now the thing is, this story is incredibly trippy, as Iron Man is threatened with the idea that life as he knows it may be just a simulation. If Thanos didn't acquire the Infinity Stones, couldn't he make us believe that this is all fake and he rules all? It's a creepy idea articulated well through the story and through the art. The next story is Love and Death and much in between. It reveals a moment Thanos shares with Death. She's having him remember his first love and its tragic end. I'll leave a little meat on the bone if you guys do decide to buy the comic. Link in description. I can see somebody in the comment section leaving a comment talking about, yo, what the heck are you doing, my boy? We hungry. Give us the comic. I know what you mean, but I gotta leave a little meat on the bone because I want to get into my favorite story of them all. And that story is the bar at the end of the line. Hey, look, I like a good bar story, and put Thanos in the mix. I'm not sure if pun is intended with that, but I think that'll be a good cocktail mix or a good mix in terms of comic book storytelling with Thanos. The first two stories showed how complex and intelligent Thanos is. This story shows how powerful Thanos is in battle. Thanos enters the bar looking for his traitorous daughter Nebula. The bartender says it's the rules of the establishment not to release the information of their clientele. Even if she had been there, he couldn't tell him anything. Thanos is annoyed by this response, and he responds with, in my experience, I found the major weakness of sentient creatures is that awkward fear of dying. I do not fear death. You know I have defeated death. I have embraced death. I have been in her kingdom, and I have returned more than once. The thing with living creatures like you is you will do anything to stay alive. Why, I will simply just do anything. So I will ask you again. And this person, whoever this creature is, comes in and enters, and the Armada is outside looking for Thanos, and they said they will kill Thanos. But before she could complete his name, the bartender gets confident and asks Thanos, are you familiar with the Dakishan's Titan? They, like you, were once the scourge of the cosmos. Indestructible, fire-breathing warriors with unbreakable skin. It seems you have somehow risen them from their centuries-long of peaceable existence. And Thanos is like, I know the Dakishans. They are one of the few races that remembers me killing off half the universe. And the bartender's like, what? Killing what now? Thanos, the mad titan the Dakishans are waiting for him outside. We of the planet Dakisha have passed judgment on your crimes. For the murder of half the known life of the universe. For the murder of 5 billion Dakishans. We found you guilty, and the punishment is death. Come outside and accept your fate, monster. Thanos goes outside. Are these all the soldiers you brought? You think so little of me. And one of the Dockish is like, this is 3 times the party we've ever needed to conquer a planetary system, much less to bring one man to justice. You talk big, Thanos, but we'll see how big you are without the Infinity Gauntlet. And he gets pissed. I don't need the Gauntlet for the likes of you. And he goes and he attacks and he impacts and takes this Dockish out. They all come on top of him and they just pile and pile. And you think Thanos is fighting a losing battle, but he's not. He goes to the bartender, and the bartender's like, but how? They're indestructible. And the dialogue in this comic is really good. And Thanos' response is like, a rock must seem formidable to a flower, but I am a hammer. Now I believe you were going to tell me something. You were going to tell me where my daughter went. And all the bartender can do is just take a gulp and give him the answer, please. Not only does this comic remind us of the complexities of this character, but it reveals he is truly one of the most formidable foes to ever be created in fiction. In the end, Thor concludes his search. In one instance, he finds his answers. Thanos will return. And another instance, he doesn't find it. And the reason why he doesn't find it is because there was a file on the Blackstone, but it is gone. He came for answers, and now he leaves with questions. Death asks Thor, what did you learn today, Odinson? He responds with that there was a time before you, Death. Death is like perhaps, but in the end, he chose me. Thor asks Death, someone was here recently and they took something. Who was here? Death eerily responds with Corvus Glaive, but he will have him in the end. Death asks if Thor would like to stay to keep him company. His response is no, because there is nothing but death here, and that's where we end this issue. Even though I did not go into the second story, every story in this issue has a unique story to tell. After reading this, you are reminded that Thanos is truly one of the greatest villains. You will want more after reading this, and I enjoyed reading this comic, and I believe you will too, or at the very least you enjoyed watching this video, but I believe you gotta add this one shot to your comic book collection. With all that being said, Thanos Death Notes, issue number 1, one shot. What you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know, and also link in description if you wish to add this to your comic book collection. If you like the content we're throwing up, you know what to do. Don't be shy, don't be stingy. Here at Rated Comics, we do awesome comic book reviews, comic book related content with the occasional comic book giveaway. Thank you again for watching. Until next time.